Okay, today we're going to talk about radical exponents and rational exponents, or radicals and rational exponents. So rational, remember, just means that you can write it as a fraction. And so up here, the definition is that the square root of a equals a to the 1/2 power. So the way that I always think about it is that this bottom number tells you what root, and this top number tells you what power it's being raised to. So, for example, this one would be the square root of 16 to the 1st power. Okay, so the square root of 16 is just 4, the end. Okay, or like this one would be the square root of 25 to the 1st power. Well, the square root of 25 is 5. So you're like, why are you even talking about the power? Well, if it's something like this to me means the square root of 9 to the 5th power. Okay, so this is the root, the square root of 9, and then we're raising that to the 5th power. Well, what is the square root of 9? 3. And then 3 to the 5th is 3, 9, 27, 81, 243. And so that would be my answer. Okay, if you were using a calculator to check this, right, like you're at home and you're working on it and you want to check, you could do 9 and then 2 and then 5 over 2 power, 243. That's what we got. Okay, so then let's talk about the next one. We have 4 to the negative 3 over 2 power. So I always think of this, again, it's the square root of 4 being raised to the negative 3 power. So the square root of 4 is 2. So then I have 2 to the negative 3rd. Well, remember, negative 3 just means that that's in the wrong part of our fraction. So it's 1 over 2 to the 3rd. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, 1 over 8. And if you wanted to check it, 4 to the negative 3 over 2 power, hit enter, 0.125. 1 over 8 is 0.125. Okay, so let's talk about when there's numbers that aren't, or roots that aren't a 2, right? Everything up here was a 2. A cubic root is, it says if b to the 3rd is a, then b is the cube root of a. For example, 2 to the 3rd is 8, so 2 is the cube root of 8. The cube root of a can be written as 3, right? The cubic root of a, or a to the 1/3 power. So really quickly, I'm just going to make a list to kind of help us out here. 2 to the 3rd is 8. 3 to the 3rd, I'm trying to think if we need to even do this. 3 to the 3rd, oops, is 27. 4 to the 3rd, 64. 5 to the 3rd is 125. I feel like that's pretty good for what we're doing today. So it just means 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So again, to me, this means the cubic root of 27 being raised to the 1st power, because that numerator is 1. Well, the cubic root of 27 is just 3. Okay, on letter F, it's the cubic root of 64 being raised to the 4th power. So what's the cubic root of 64? Well, it's 4. And then we're raising 4 to the 4th power. So 64 times 4 is 256. And that's our answer. I'm checking it. Yep. Okay, on this one, it's the cubic root of 8 to the negative 1 power. So the cubic root of 8 is 2 to the negative 1, which means, remember, a negative exponent means it belongs in the denominator of a fraction. It means it's in the wrong spot. And so that goes underneath. Okay, and then letter H, we have the cubic root of 125 to the 2nd power. So the cubic root of 125 is 5 and then we're squaring it. And 5 squared is 25. Okay, on letter I, it says the properties of exponents for integer exponents also applies to fractional exponents. So what that means is like right here, where we have 12 to the negative 1/2 times 12 to the 5/2. So when you're multiplying them together and they have the same base, we're just going to add the exponents together. So negative 1/2 plus 5/2 is 4/2. And what's 4/2? Just 2. So that is 144. Okay, or like on letter J, we have 6 to the 4/3 times 6 over 6 to the 1/3 power. So what we can do is we can add these together, right? And they need a common denominator. So that would be like 6 to the 7/3 over 6 to the 1/3, right? Because I essentially just made 6 to the first. I made it 3. That's really hard to read. 3/3. So now we subtract 7/3 minus 1/3 is 6/3, which is 6 to the second, which is just 36. And that's our answer. Okay, let's flip our paper over and talk about a couple other scenarios. Okay, so 16 to the 3/4 power. So this means, let's think about it, the 4th root of 16 to the 3rd power. So what number times itself 4 times would be 16? It's 2, right? 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, right? 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So the 4th root of 16 is 2, and we're raising that to the 3rd power. 2 to the 3rd is 8. Okay, look at number or letter M. It's the cubic root of 27 to the 4th power. Well, the cubic root of 27 is 3, because 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. And then we're raising it to the 4th. 3 to the 4th power is 81. Okay, let's look at letter L. On letter L, we have negative 625 to the 2/3 power. So we want to take the cubic root of negative 625, and then we want to square it. Okay, so what can you do? What can you do? What can you multiply times itself 3 times to give you negative 625? It's negative 25, because 25 times 25, oh, no, it's not. Let's see. Whoops, the cubic root, I may have messed up this question, of 625. Yeah, I messed that up. We could make this the cubic root, that's a typo on my part. As I'm saying it, I'm like, there's not a cubic root of 625. Let's do the cubic root of 125.